What's up, guys? It's your commissioner here speaking. Hope you guys' season is not completely falling apart. I'm just gonna get the screen popped up. Don't got much of an intro. This is probably the worst year of injuries. Last year was pretty bad. But I felt like whereas last year was just a bunch of big names just completely out for the entire season. You got a little bit of that from last year, and then as well as just like guys out for a month, guy on IR, guy off IR. Um, and I feel like last year maybe it was more quarterbacks. I'm not really sure, but this year's definitely been worse. And I think everybody's been kind of getting it because this has to be the first year where there's 4 or 5 and 2 teams. Um, Very odd. Some teams are getting healthier, some teams are not. One take I have is I think that it's kind of a hot take, even though in terms of points for, like they're not too far behind in the pack, is that David or Tony, one of these 3 and 4 teams will make the playoffs. Because I think some of the 5 and 2 teams, they've been running a little, I think their luck seems to have run out. Not saying that they were fully lucky before and like they weren't good teams. Hold on. I wonder if my face a little bigger. I don't know. I feel like I like looking here for the camera, even though I should be looking up here. Anyways, uh, yeah, I just think some of these 5 and 2 teams, I don't really think they're super legit. And two of them in particular, I'm really worried about the injuries. If they were 5 and 2 and like everyone else was like 3 and 4, 3 and 4, and there were more two win teams, I'd be like, oh, 5 and 2 seems safe. Like a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh man, if you're 5 and 0 and 4 and 1, nothing, you know, shouldn't be worried. But honestly, as even myself as a 5 and 2 team, like I could be in trouble in 2 weeks. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's start with here we go. Um, I don't know why it's not showing him as a team. Yeah, so first place is Noah, and I think this is the team to beat, mainly because Puka's gonna come back at some point. At some point, I think he's like first in the league in points. He's got the best quarterback. He's got the Justin Jefferson's arguably the best fantasy wide receiver right now. And outside of that, it's like, Brian Thomas has become more inconsistent. Oh no, excuse me. Jameson Williams has kind of fallen off these last couple of weeks in terms of targets. He's supposed to be suspended for a couple of weeks. It's just I don't Evan Ingram coming back, that's an upgrade over I think both Tucker Craft and Dallas Goedert. Um, there's just not I just don't see, last week if you asked me about this team, I'd been like, well, Rashad White's falling off a cliff, but then he just had 30 points. So if Rashad White's gonna stick around and Ryan Robinson is we'll see without uh Jaden Daniels. I just yeah. Um I don't want to go on and on about like how good this team is. I think it's just good in terms like for a regular season. Like DeAndre Swift, I know his schedule gets tougher, but he's startable. At this point, if you have upside players and then just a bunch of guys that you can start, then you're feeling pretty good. You're doing better than the rest of the pack, as you'll see in some of these other teams. So while I'm not crazy about Evan Ingram, Rashad White, and DeAndre Swift, like a tight end in the double flex, and um, Brian Thomas, I think we'll have still have some bad games. I'm not fully bought into him like being like some top 12 wide receiver. And Zay Flowers, it looked like just a regular ankle sprain, so he should be fine. I guess I could be scared a little about Ray Davis with James Cook. Uh, so if you told me like this team from like upside, like compared to every single team in a 2 weeks, like over 2 weeks, I don't know. Maybe there's better teams if they were fully healthy, but right now, like going into the second half stretch, not the final stretch, but the second half, I think this is the team to beat for sure. So, number 2 here, we got Hunter's team. Hunter's one of the guys like me who have lost a piece for the rest of the year. And yes, there is a difference. There's even a difference between losing a guy for a month or two and losing him for the season. So losing Rashid Shaheed's a big, big loss. He was wide receiver 7 for him. He was the wide receiver 7 with his special team points. Mark Andrews has been coming a little bit back to life. Um, basically what this team's gonna need is it's gonna need everybody to keep doing what they're doing, and then on top of that, like a Lad McConkey breakout, and maybe DJ Moore uh gets a little bit, with Caleb Williams improves as a rookie and he becomes a little more consistent. I kind of want to look at his numbers here because he was all coming off a bye. Yeah, okay, so only 2 games over 15. He did have the big game here with 2 touchdowns, but yeah, he's gonna need Derrick Henry to keep being, yeah, the number one running back, and Montgomery's been a touchdown machine. Uh, Zach Moss, I think his days are done, so he might need to be finding a different flex. I have him in another league. It kind of sucks. And it just a lot of times when I look at this team, it's before it was imagine what this team would be like if Hunter didn't take Mark Andrews at pick 25. But now it's like imagine if he took somebody else at 36. Maybe in this league, he would have been hurt, whoever he took at 36. But yeah, pretty good team. It's really just the running backs. If the running backs get touchdowns and Amon-Ra gets 20 points, he's in a game. He's going to be in any really matchup. So I don't think this is the best team, but or even like upside wise, I don't think this is like a top 3 team. Like I think some big changes have to happen. Like Chargers got to throw more. Lad McConkey's got to boom. He's been playing well, like analytically they're saying. Khalil Shakir, I don't know. Again, Bill's got to pass more. So there's some stuff on the like offenses either need to pass more or become better offenses, like Denver, for example. Like the offense is just gonna have to get better for Javonte to do better. So those are some pretty big changes to ask for. Same thing with like Christian Kirk. Like I think the offense as a whole has to improve. So we'll see about this team. I just think it's kind of like a churner. Like it's never gonna. I feel like this team doesn't get a hunt. Is gonna will rarely put up 100 points. But then again, it's only been 1 week without Rashid Shaheed. So we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of curious how the Komet Mark Andrews thing's gonna work because um I don't know if double tight end is the move. I don't think those two are good enough to run a double tight end, but yeah. Next up. Ooh. Ouch. Ouchie ouchie. Man. Uh Good thing, Max, I dropped Kareem Hunt because if I had not dropped Kareem Hunt, I don't know. I'm very curious what this team's outlook would be this week. It's probably already rough. Um, the team was kind of a week ago it was like, man, only Taylor's hurt and Warren had a good Sunday night game. He finally seems healthy. Bucky Irving is he's not fully taken over the backfield, but now he can be a flex start. And Tank Dell had like a big game. And then Tank Dell put up 0 without Nico. And B Rob's coming back for Eckler. So Calvin Ridley's unstartable, pretty much, and Mostert came back and fumbled, and maybe he has a flex in Jalen Tolbert, but with Daniels now hurt, Kittle's got a sprained foot day to day. I'm a little so that's a little suspect right there, sprained foot. They're seeing Taylor will finally practice after 3 weeks, so maybe he plays. But Mike Evans, I mean, he's a 31-year-old receiver. I think if they didn't have the bye, he would have gone on IR. Like this is a pretty serious injury here. And now you're stuck. I mean, this is no joke. There's no serious bye weeks. What you guys see is like this is his team. Um, yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be one of those where it's like, man, I don't really know. This is one of those, this one, and I think the next no, maybe the next one. We'll see. The next team. I just don't know where you can go with this team because the players on the bench aren't really trade worthy. I think you kind of just have to scrape by with flexes and kind of I think you just got to hope for the best, really. And just hope like when you lose, you don't like put up 90 points so you fall behind in the points against because it's pretty dark. I think it's pretty dark because yeah, I mean Pacheco. We'll see when Pacheco comes back, but in 2 weeks from now, we could have Kareem Hunt being nothing with Pacheco back. Bucky Irving After Rashad White's big game, he's just like a backup again. Nico Khan comes back, Tag Dell becomes a double triple zero. Wicks is boom bust each week. You never know when you can start them. It's really this team's really Gibbs and Drake London. Um, we'll see with Jaden Daniel. I don't think he's that hurt. I don't know. Ribs are. I think he'll be fine, but he might miss a week or two. So at 5-2 with the points he's put up, like if I'm Max, I'm nervous, but I think I think other teams are gonna have to get it together for Max team to really be for Max to really panic. But yeah, he's gonna be going up against another team, this next team coming up soon that's also struggling. Um here's my team. Lost Marquise Brown early in the season for their whole season. Just lost Ayuk. Ayuk probably might be the worst pick that I've probably got to be top 5 worst picks I've ever made. Finally, had never taken a 49ers guy. Took him 27th. Thought the contract would get done. Contract doesn't get done until super, super late. He's not practicing. You see it here. One game, over 10 points. Just terrible. Zero touchdowns. Yeah, very dark. So I guess I'm not in terms of a performer. Like I'm not the fact that I was 5-2 and starting that guy. I was getting a 5 in one of my wide receiver spots almost every week. I guess it's not too big of a loss. It takes away from my upside overall. But I'm really, really banking on Tua coming in here with a vengeance. People getting. I hope he's mad that people wanted him to retire or something like that. I don't know. I want him to be on a revenge tour because I need Waddle now to come back and do something for me. I mean, being 5-2 and listen, I had my second and third round, my third and fourth round picks. This guy was my fourth pick, and look at what he's done. Like these were his first 2 games, and then Tua gets hurt. Tua got hurt in this game, and since then it's been this. So, running backs have been good. Kyler Murray has not really delivered, but I guess like I'll take it. I guess I'll take what he just put up. I don't know. I might start. He's not really a difference maker at quarterback, and yet he's a number 6 quarterback. So, not really sure what to think of him. Really, what's been hitting for me is I got the number 1 tight end. Not in points per game. Kittle is the number 1 tight end in points per game, but I got the number 1 tight end in like the 11th round. So Big Booty Brock, I believed in him. It's coming in clutch. And after that, we'll see with everybody else. I think I need Jacoby Myers. I think I'm picking up Jacoby Myers at the flex. I need a consistent like wide receiver flex. I might be hunting for some wide receivers because I don't know about New England's offense. I don't know if Drake May he has some good moments. I believe in him in the future, but I don't know if that's gonna turn around Ramondre's season. Maybe he wasn't fully healthy this past week. I just never know when to start him. And when he does bad, he does really bad. He doesn't put up 11. It's like it's single digits. So um scrappy team. Scrappy teams put up more points than I would have maybe thought. Giants lost their left tackle, their best offensive lineman, and Neighbors had his worst game, so that kind of scares me. Um, but overall, in terms of the upside, I mean, Bijan's getting more touches. Saquon still Saquoning. We'll see. I really hope Nick Chubb, second half of the season kind of bursts onto the scene. I don't, had I lost to David this week, an insane win, I would be a little bit more worried. But right now, I feel like there's teams who should be more worried than me, because like Neighbors, T. Higgins, and Waddle as a receiving core here, and then my flexes being Ramondre and Jacoby Myers, or like put Jake Ferguson and Brock Bowers double tight end flex. Like that's not that egregious. Don't I'm kind of sitting pretty. I'm kind of sitting pretty, not gonna lie. Who's not sitting pretty and who plays? This is what's interesting about this week. 4 uh 5-win teams play each other this week, and it's Jacob and Max are the interesting ones here. Yeah, with Jacob, it's been since I last talked with you guys on the video. This was about 3 weeks ago. Nico just got hurt, and did he just get hurt? No, he got hurt like a week later. Travis Etienne now is this a zero kind of, not necessarily, but you don't want to start him. And now Debo's got pneumonia. I think he's gonna miss at least 2 weeks. Dalton Kincaid is just like whatever. Like he really is just whatever. Like he doesn't have a bye week and he's tight end 12. He's averaging 8 points. So like you see Dalton Kincaid, guys, no, he's basically performing like a waiver tight end. And then you got Darnell Mooney here, who had that monster game. He's wide receiver 18, but he's cruising on that 31 ball. And I think that kind of just shows how bad wide receivers have been. Darnell Mooney has a 30 ball and 2 games where it's like 14.6, 17.8, pretty good. But then everything else is he's scored under 10 in over half his games, but he's wide receiver 18. Like kind of shows you how the wide receiver position is doing right now. But I just JSN turned out not to be as consistent as we thought he might become. I had him as an X factor in the preseason, and it just hasn't really come to fruition. And Kyron Williams is still healthy, so Blake Corum and Atron staying healthy, so Jalen Wright and Blake Corum they can't really do anything for him. Juju, they said he's gonna be out this week. I didn't really have much faith in him either. This is just one of those teams where, in 2 to 3 weeks, sure, in 2 to 3 weeks, I think it'll be fine. But guess what? In 2 to 3 weeks, it could be 5-5 because like um I don't think Debo's playing this week, and there's no bye weeks this week too. But he is up going up against Max, so that's why this week is big, is because I think whoever loses between Jacob and Max loses is between those two. It's gonna start getting scary for them 5-3 because as you guys are gonna see, I'm pretty hyped about these other teams coming in here. I guess if any more points I could talk about is Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is just kind of killing it. Good matchup, tough match. I mean, in the Jets game, he kind of got hurt, but he's been kind of killing it. So maybe losing Travis Etienne is just whatever. Uh, but I will say that with Etienne now, in my personal opinion, I think Travis Etienne's unstartable now. Yeah, I don't think this is like Rashad White where like he'll get catches and like he'll be like he could be a pretty good flex. Like no, like I think yeah. Like these first couple games, this was him as the workhorse. And now you're getting like these last like Indiana's like one of like is like I think bottom three in like run defenses and he got 12. So yeah, I know okay, he got injured in here, but I'm not really optimistic about his future. So that really leaves like Josh Jacobs. Like we'll see when Marshawn Lloyd gets healthy, will he lose more touches? And then Aaron Jones, I think Aaron Jones is it's a hamstring injury. He tweaks that, he's Mike Evans. He's gonna be out for a month if he tweaks it. He's already like on limited on like reps or whatever in practice. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, wish he was better. Had him in Dynasty. Wish he was a little bit better. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what it is. We'll give it some time. It's actually no, I know what it is. It's the touchdowns. He has 2 touchdowns on the season. That'll keep your upside pretty low. And yet, he gets a little lucky with touchdowns, he'll be fine. So, and Chase will have a couple more 30 balls because it's Chase. So, yeah. I think this team's better off than Max's. I think Max's was the main panic team, and he knows that. I was chatting with him, but now we're going on to the 3 and 4. These scrappy teams. They're not really scrappy. They're kind of hurting, and they really needed something to get turned around here. So David really had a big shakeup with his team with some of these trades. So he has Amari Cooper, and he was starting Amari Cooper and David Njoku. Honestly, at some point, I think he sat Amari Cooper because he was doing almost nothing for him. Where's that? Yeah, almost nothing. And leaves the Bills. Amari Cooper has 16 points on his debut. No, leaves the Browns, goes to the Bills, has 16 points on his debut. And in his wake, David Njoku has 14 targets, 23 points, 23.6 points. Maybe he doesn't need Hawkinson. Maybe he uses Hawkinson as a trade bait if Njoku is this good, or vice versa. Use one as trade bait, whatever. Russell Wilson with Najee. Najee Harris looks a lot better with Russell Wilson under center. Jets run defense hasn't been as formidable as they maybe as promised in the preseason, and but it's still pretty good. Still pretty good now. I think a couple weeks ago I was kind of worried about Chuba leaving, but now like Chuba leaving, like not being relevant with Brooks coming in and would not be able to be sustainable as an RB2. I think he'll be fine. I think the main thing now is he needs Cooper Kupp back. I think he needs Cooper Kupp back. He's supposed to be back this Thursday. If he gets traded, that'll be interesting. That would be wild if he gets another traded wide receiver on his team. But some of the negatives, Garrett Wilson. Um, they play too slow for them to be viable. And this is something I used to notice on the Packers, and that always used to be at the Packers was um they Aaron Rodgers just plays too slow of a pace, and so it doesn't really matter that there's that Devontae Adams is taking away the primary coverage. If you have Breece Hall and Devontae Adams, that just means there's going to be games Garrett Wilson where he's just not going to have a lot of points. And he had 13, he had a drop, but this was a game where they were kind of chasing, and you'd expect a little more. And Devontae Adams only had 6 points, so there's definitely some worries there about Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall is back to being back to being breezy. Can Xavier Worthy do something? Can he step up? Like seriously, I had him as one of the X factors for David, and like it's touchdown or bust for him at this point, and we're entering week 8. Like there's gonna be no Juju. There's been no Rice. Kelsey hasn't exactly been lighting it on fire. There's no Pacheco to take the checkdowns, so the path should be opening for him. But he does have Dobbs. Maybe Dobbs should start getting the starts. I gotta say, the last 2 weeks. Schedule's looking good. He's got Jacksonville and Detroit for the bye. Maybe throw him in there, David. And I guess to top it all, to end this, is Chris Olave is a bust. Busty Wusty. I know he's hurt. Um, I don't know if I had this talk with you guys because I hadn't made the video yet. I think I made the video a month in. I don't know who bought into the Saints. I know they started getting injuries with quarterbacks and their receivers and all of that. It makes sense, but they had the worst O-line. It's been the worst O-line. And yeah, sure, part of it's been banged up. And now you're kind of seeing it. Now, maybe he's been a bust because he's been playing through a hamstring. I heard that. And now he's got a concussion. Because he had this 3-game stretch, and then I think this is when he got banged up. And KC is not a good matchup, but hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. Derek Carr. So I think this team can go pretty crazy. I do. I think Jonathan Brooks is not going to be back for a couple weeks, so Chuba can at least be a flex. And if Cooper Kupp starts this week, bench Wanda, you know, if you want, or Terry. Terry's running a little hot. I gotta admit he has been running a little bit hot, and there's not going to be Jaden Daniels under center, so I don't know who David's playing this week. Who's he playing this week? He's playing Noah. Yeah, this is a big one here. So I think he's gonna listen, in 2 weeks this season could be over pretty much, but I think him and this next team, I think even more so maybe than David. Actually, no. I think David's is a bigger threat than this next team, but Tony has a pretty nice team. We've all known this. First 3 weeks, first month, the first video I made, I think, was number 1 in points. Loses Tua, like entering week 3, and kind of pushed through a little bit. Not really. I think he was 1-3. But now maybe Jerry Judy's something. Maybe if they start Jameis instead of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, put him at the flex. Instead of starting Hopkins as your third wide receiver, you can put Tyreek Hill back in there. Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitties. Kind of litty. Kind of litty. Okay? Listen, 3 double-digit games and not with no touchdowns. That's pretty good. You'll take that from what he was giving you the first couple weeks. It's really just the boom of Jaden Reed and Devon Achane was like a top 3 running back, and it's Tyreek Hill. That's really this team. I know Jalen Hurts is underperforming and J.K. Dobbins didn't have a good game this week, but honestly, like it's that simple. Like this team can go on a 3-game win streak and everybody can just go click on Tony's team and be like, oh yeah, the Dolphins are back and they have a pretty easy. I think they have a pretty easy schedule coming up and mm, okay, bad, good, good, good. Okay, yeah, can definitely go on a run. Play Stawara's team, which is now kind of done. So yeah, this is a guy like it can be. I think I'm gonna make a video like in another month or 3 weeks because I do want to track this team and David's team because I do think that out of the 5-2 teams, somebody's got to fall. Somebody's gonna be like 6-6. That was 5-2. That definitely I think with some of these injuries, and there's gonna be even more injuries. And then eventually a team's gonna crack like this next team here. Man, before last night, I was gonna come in here and just heap praises on this team, like kind of turning it around, and you just gotta win. And Devontae's on a new team now, better offense, maybe. Maybe this wasn't last night. Maybe like the end of, I don't know, before the Sunday night game. I was pretty excited for this team. Then Marvin is just, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about Marvin. I mean, it's been tough matchups. These are tough matchups. And in the good matchups he performs, at least that's good. Seems like they're double teaming him and he's not ready for a double team, but it's more double team like a bracket, not like 2 guys just right on him playing press. I definitely feel like there's better days to come from him, but honestly, save you guys the time. Losing Chris Godwin, it's over. It's so over. I mean, you had the number. It was one thing to be like, yeah, okay, you have the number one. What was he? He was the number one wide receiver. Now he's the number two. Um, almost a 20 point per game wide receiver, and getting McCaffrey in a couple weeks. If you got another one, who is he playing? Okay, maybe we would have lost to Tony actually. He's got Kenneth. Like he made some good picks. He's got Kenneth Walker to the averaging 22 points. Wow, wow, guys. The number 8 running back is averaging 22 points per game. Last year, I think only 2 running backs were averaging that. That's how hot running backs are going in right now in the first 8 weeks. So if you don't got them, you probably suck. But yeah, I'm gonna save you guys time. Unfortunately, Tony, I mean Stawara, it's got to be over now. Like there's some hope. There's definitely some hope. That's why I'm gonna leave the door slightly open. But with Godwin out, you're throwing in who? None of those guys are startable. So he's gonna have to hit the waivers for a guy, and then Tank Bigsby only has a couple weeks probably as a full-time starter, and he doesn't play. He doesn't play on passing downs. How many catches does he have? He has 1 catch all season, and the run defenses are gonna get harder. And so even though he had a monster game, I don't expect that to replicate. Still has kind of still has tight end issues. Even with Russ being better, Pat Fryermuth is like, I don't know. I just don't know. All right. It's rough. It's rough out here for Stawara. It's rough out here for little Joshy Poo Poo. But listen, I called Laporta. Asked Stawara, you can ask go. I called Laporta. I mean, this is it. This is his. I don't care. You lost for Rasheed Rice. Actually, that's a big L. That was probably that's where when I said it was over. But 22nd, I didn't think he would be that bad. He's 22nd. You did him 22nd, and he's tight end 21. Like, he made some good picks. Tony Pollard was a good pick. Joe Mixon was a good pick. Alvin Kamara was a good pick. He's got two. Yeah, he's got 2 running backs averaging over 20 points per game. It's just that his quarterback, you took him 62nd when you could have just got some guy on the waivers. Not saying, I'm not gonna say this, like you could say the same thing about like Patrick Mahomes. Even like with Kyler Murray for me, I'm just saying like th these kind of quarterbacks are, in terms of the what if you honestly a 6th round pick in the flex is better than throwing out CJ Stroud right now without Nico Collins. And we'll see after the bye. CeeDee Lamb after the bye, maybe he's got to do better than 15 points per game. I mean, he's averaging less points than T. Higgins. No offense to T. Higgins, but that shouldn't be happening. The number two guy on an offense is averaging more points than the number one on the Cowboys. Yeah, all right. Have an RIP. He's got a lot of points scored against them. It's a shame. It's a shame. I'm kind of just gonna blow through these guys because I mean, like Alejandro, man, can you get a win, Alejandro? You're just handing out wins. It's one thing if, yeah, like like take a win from somebody. All right. When people play you, I'm just like, I go look at a 5-win team, like who they play. All right, bye a week. Loses DK. I think he'll be back soon. The Ricky pick was pretty nice. But I'm honestly considering locking this dude's lineup because, man, I mean he's picking up guys that I want, but he's still losing. He's still losing. Um, there's really no analysis about. Oh, the only analysis I will say is that if anybody catches Alejandro saying that his team was bad because of injuries, don't listen to that. Do not listen to that because this man missed AJ Brown for a month. Okay, that's fair. Missed him for a month, but one of them was his bye weeks, and he's now averaging 22 points per game. Lost Pacheco, that's fair, but immediately got Jordan Mason, who, okay, he's averaging 14.5, but before the shoulder injury, you can see he was probably averaging a lot more. I think he was a top. Yeah, he's running back 10 with his injury, so he was even higher than that. So that guy came in for Pacheco. He just made bad picks. Keenan Allen was a bad pick. Michael Pittman, terrible pick. DK's been like a wash, like yeah, just solid for like he's not performing above his draft position. And that's it. That's it. I mean, I have Trey McBride in a couple leagues. He's tight end five, but he's averaging like 12 points per game. At pick 46, could have had Kenneth Walker, could have had so many other guys. Um, that's how I feel in my other league too. But I ended up trading for a running back, and that's how I got into the running back sweepstakes. But uh, I guess the last thing, just kind of cautious till for everybody. When you get guys like Jonathan Brooks, when you get guys like Nick Chubb, these a couple of years ago I fell for it, like a Michael Thomas. Um, if your team is like if you're like a 5-2 team, sure. Having Brooks on your team, that's pretty sick. Like, that's a flex that maybe later on in the season they might go off. But as you can see here, what I had said to Alejandro and kind of what I had said at the beginning of the year is when you're full upside, like you're just like an okay team, and then you're relying on a guy who might be back week 4 or 5, because that's what they were saying, you're already in trouble because you took him at the top 100 pick, and we are now entering week 8, and I think his practice window is just about to open up. When there were reports saying that he was going to be ready for, on the public, so he'd come back like week 5. So he's not even practicing yet. So that's kind of just a tip for you guys. Some years you'll get like Brees Hall, where you had to take him like 40th. I think Alejandro took him, and he was amazing. He was bad for like 3, 4 games, and then he was like the RB1 or RB2. But more often than not, you're gonna get burned. Like we'll see. Like Nick Chubb was an auto pick for me. We'll see how that goes. A couple years ago, I had Michael Thomas, and he ended up needing more surgery. And I took a guy on like the top 100 picks, and he never played for me. So yeah, those kind of guys suck. Be careful of those guys. Anyways, I think that's it. I hope you guys all have you guys aren't I want to talk about some waiver guys that could help some of you guys, but I didn't want to drop the sauce. Or you know what? I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm going crazy on Jawan Jennings tomorrow. I need him. I'm gonna drop some waiver, some a lot of fab. I hope you guys don't do that. And I guess a little bit for the luck department when I'm meaning about running a little hot. Max and Hunter. I mean, 100 points less than me, basically 100 less than Noah. Uh, look at look at how much has been scored on Alejandro, but he's also put up the least amount of points. So let's go to somebody like, I don't know, someone like Tonton. No, that's not a good example. All right, I'm cutting this. I was gonna be you guys see the numbers. You guys see the numbers. Hope you guys are doing well and have a good night, and I want to go get some coffee here, even though it's only 9:15. You have a good night, everybody. Peace out.